I would like to call to order the January 17th, 2023 meeting of the Colerain Township Zoning Commission. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So happy New Year and welcome to all in attendance and anyone watching from home, of course Township staff and my fellow commissioners. Just a friendly reminder to all in attendance to please silence your devices at this time. Mr. Allard, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bachman, Mr. Gehring,
Here.
Ms. Smith, Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Ms. McMullen.
Here.
And seeing that Mr. Bachman and Ms. Smith are not here, we'll see Mr. Westfall.
Here.
Thank you, good sir.
All right, so tonight we do have an oath of office that needs to take place. So do you want?
You want to do the two primary members first then?
Yes, please.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Lori
Kevin
McMullen,
Solemnly swear that I will uphold
solemnly swear that I will uphold
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
and the laws and resolutions of Colerain Township,
and the laws and resolutions of Colerain Township,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of a primary member on the Zoning Commission
of a primary member on the Zoning Commission
in for Colerain Township,
and in for Colerain Township,
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
State of Ohio,
State of Ohio,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Mr. Westbrook, you will come on down. You're next.
Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. I, J. Thomas Westphal,
I, J. Thomas Westfall,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution and laws of the United States of America,
that I will uphold the Constitution and laws of the United States of America,
Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
and the laws and resolutions of Colerain Township,
the laws and resolutions of Colerain Township,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
and will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of an alternate member on the zoning commission
as an alternate member of the Zoning Commission.
in for Colerain Township,
I'm sorry.
in for Colerain
In and
Township,
for Colerain Township,
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
State of
State
Ohio,
of Ohio.
so help me
So
God.
help me God. Thank you.
You want to sign here? Well, I gotta share lunch, I guess.
All right, I might try switching to the table over there real quick because this is not giving me anything to project on there. So give me 1 second, please.
You're okay. We have a few things before you. We have a few things before you, so you're okay. All right, so next, with it being a new year, we have an election of officers in front of us. So first up, do we have a nomination for chairperson?
I nominate Ms. McMillan.
I'll second that.
Okay, I accept. Would anyone like to make a motion or a second?
I motion.
And I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Allen, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please, once you're organized?
Mr. Gary?
Aye.
Mr. Westfall?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Ms.
Aye. So next up, a nomination for vice chair. Mr. Gehring, how would you feel?
It'd be fine with me to step in, yeah. I miss a number of meetings, but I hope to rectify that.
Okay,
I'll make a motion for Mr. Gehring.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Allen?
Mr. Gearing?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
And Ms. McMullen?
Yes. Thank you. Commissioners, presented before you tonight are the meeting minutes from our November 15th, 2022 meeting. Do we have any comments or requested edits?
I have none.
Okay. Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the minutes of November 15th,
And
as stated.
thank you, and I will second that motion. Mr. Allard, can we have a roll call?
Mr. Gearing?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Abstain.
And Ms. McMullen?
Yes. Okay, motion carries and the meeting minutes have been approved. All right, next, we would like to welcome the public to address the Zoning Commission with any and all items that are not related to tonight's public hearing. Is there anyone present who would like to address the commission tonight? Okay, seeing none noted. And we do not have a final development plan on tonight's agenda. So we are moving to item number 5 on our agenda, which is a public hearing on zoning case ZA 2023-01, which is Zips Car Wash located at the Stone Creek Town Center for a major amendment. Mr. Alec, does staff have a presentation?
Staff does have a presentation, but we do not have a projector. Can I request a motion for a 10-minute recess to try and address some IT issues?
I will make a motion.
Yes.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Gearing?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
And Ms. McMullen?
Yes,
Thank you. 6:12 now, so we're trying to resume at 6:22.
okay. All right, so we are back from recess. So we did make a motion to go into recess. We will need a motion to come out of recess.
So move. Second.
Mr. Gearing?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience as we got through that.
All right, so we will start number 5 again. So we do have a public hearing tonight on zoning case ZA 2023-01, Zips Car Wash at the Stone Creek Town Center for a major amendment. And Mr. Alec, we know you have a presentation.
I do. Would you like to swear me now?
That's good.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. McMullen, for introducing the case. As some members of the audience may remember, and commissioners and staff as well, the applicants were here in front of the commission with an informal concept review in November, and they are back now to do a proposed modification to a preliminary development plan. Stone Creek Town Center, look at the map just shown there. This is a copy of the application we received, justification letter, legal description, and these are the plans out, very similar to the plans received from the informal concept review. And a few changes were made, landscaping. Just want to note on this, as is sometimes custom, there could be discrepancies in these plans presented because generally you're not investing a whole lot of capital into something prior to, but just to kind of give us a heads up. So like in this case, you'll see the layout presented on this first sheet is different than the following layouts. So just want to make that note, and then the applicant can speak to that aspect later. So 6 pages, the commissioner should have received all those. And like I said, very similar to, if not almost identical, to the informal concept review. It's just an overview of the parcel we're talking about, an aerial of the northern edge of that parcel. It's currently a Meyer, the parking lot for Meyer, and then also, as was noted during the meeting in November, there's a ride share that happens here as another aspect of this, and property information from the auditor just showing that the parcel currently being just under 18 acres, owned by Myers Stores Limited Partnership. Topography showing that generally is a very slight slope from the southeast to the northwest, and we'll kind of touch on this a little bit later when we get into detention, retention. Overview from the entire, this development was proposed to the commission, to the township back in 2005 as case ZA 2005-003, Stone Creek. It was informally named by me, I guess, as Phase 1 because in 2007 there was a Phase 2. So just by default, we generally refer to this as Phase 1. So coming up on almost 20 years of this development. As everyone knows, sort of the prime development or premier development within Colerain Township. These are some of the renderings that were presented back in 2005. Just to kind of go over, here's a general site layout, all that good stuff. Brought up in the meeting in November were 4 main topics that I'll cover, and then a few will be up to the applicant. Architectural standards, so as far as like color scheme, stuff of that nature, any item of that nature. This is what was proposed to the commission, to the trustees, to the township in 2005, and is generally, with the exception of this is a computer rendering, and then the as-built is fairly close to this as far as color schemes and all that aspects are regarded, because architectural standards were brought up in the informal concept review. It's also addressed later on in the staff report in the approving resolution from the Board of Trustees back in 2005. Parking was also brought up, and right here, the FDP of ZA 2005-003, it indicated 995 parking spaces for the Meyer. The current zoning resolution, which this was not approved under, but the current zoning resolution calls for 4 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet. The proposed Meyer and the FDP is 207,483 square feet. So therefore, 830 parking spaces are required for the current zoning resolution. The proposed modification would eliminate approximately 144 parking spaces. Taking that from the 995 gives us approximately 851, which is 21 over the 830 required. So by the zoning resolution, the current standards, a variance is not required for that, but it was brought up in November and wanted to address that. Additionally, stormwater retention, retention was brought up. And if I hit, let's see here, this, and then hit laser pointer. So the majority of the site that's in discussion right now drains into this small retention pond just to the north, as far as the stormwater piping is presented. And then a small aspect runs down here and then drains down to this pond as well. I'm sure there's probably some going in along here, but very little. At least anything that was designed is piped either down here to the south or the majority up here to the north. Just to cover that question was brought up. And then lighting, any lighting standards, this is I know it's probably hard to see here, but there are very few lights that would be moved, if any at all, and all those will be replaced with the current applicant. And that would be really a better aspect that we would touch with more clarity or more specificity on when we were looking at an FDP for this. So just to kind of bring that back, we're talking about a modification to the original PDP, as was approved in 2005-003. We're proposing a modification to that, or the applicant is. And then addition to that would be a required, FDP would be a required hearing that have to come before the zoning commission, not the board of trustees. But if it were to receive approval tonight and then approval from the board of trustees, the applicant would come back with a modified FDP as well, just to touch that base and have that point of clarity. And, pardon me. One small change was made to the staff recommendation. That is on your desks up there. Just a very slight change in the wording on number 6. Instead of the property owner shall be required to comply with the strategies, it, sort of set the standard to be more of a teamwork type thing. The property owner agree in writing to work with Colerain Township to achieve the strategies initiatives listed within, and then it's verbatim after that. Or there were no changes after that. So, staff recommendation number 1 in the approving resolution, as already mentioned, there's the total gross square footage of the site was limited to a maximum of 501,083 square feet. Would be an addition of just over 4,000 square feet to that. And then also of note on here, number 19 of the approving resolution, that is where, I'll read this off real quick, that the Myers applicant designer shall make a good faith effort to review the proposed building elevations to allow the design to blend in with the overall development. Just to kind of give us an idea of, that's what was approved architecturally, at least in 2005. Staff recommendation these are for conditions of approval, that the FDP and zoning certificate application shall get compliance with all relevant aspects of basically architectural standards. So there's offsets and roof line changes and projections or depressions in the overall site layout that need to be met. And we would just basically check those off to make sure they meet the zoning resolution going forward on the final plan. That's all related to that. 3 and 4 would just be a variance to, 3 and 4 would be just restating the requirement that sidewalks are required along any portion of a lot that fronts a public right-of-way. In this case, that's going to be along Stone Creek Boulevard there. And then a walkway connection has to be made to allow pedestrians to reach the business behind there. And that can simply be painted, it can be painted lines designated, it can be brick, it's all laid out here. There are multiple options. Staff's point number 5, this would be a variance, a proposed variance, that a 1-foot variance to the required length of parking stalls be granted to permit the proposed 18-foot length stalls. On the plan, there really, in my opinion, in staff's opinion, there are 3 actual parking spots. Those would be on the east side of the proposed development. I believe they're shown at 9 feet by 18 feet. Our code requires 9 feet by 19 feet. But nonetheless. And then item number 6, as mentioned, where it's stated in the Imagine Colerain, the comprehensive plan, Imagine Colerain, every effort should be made, and here it's specifically listed out, for cross-access easements, connections in between the Stone Creek development and the Kroger Marketplace development. This was specifically identified in the Imagine Colerain comprehensive plan. And then also, if the commission remembers, this came up, I believe, was in May or June with the modification we had to the other Stone Creek as well. The Best Buy, there was a lot split there, where the cross-access easement discussion came up quite a bit. And it was indicated by the applicant then, not confirmed, but just indicated back then, that the current property owner, Meyer, through the property owner's agreement that they have within the development itself, may have been a hindrance to achieving that cross-access easement. But that's something, that's why I kind of went back to change the language where the comprehensive plan, Imagine Colerain, it tells us very clearly, here's what you're supposed to do. At the moment, we have not gone back and amended our zoning resolution to encompass all of these suggestions, to codify them, to make it as clear as that. So that's where I went back and changed the language that, some things are not clear, that's on us. However, it is clear that it must be addressed. The manner and the details, we get to work out. But that was the reason for that language change on the staff report versus what's presented tonight. And then just same thing, it talks about the cross-access easement. And basically anytime we can get traffic off of Colerain Avenue, pretty much anyone in the township agrees that's a good thing. And then just here is just the sort of presentation of, with the old language says, shall be required to comply. And then here it's saying the property owner agree in writing to work with Colerain Township to achieve the strategies and initiatives listed. Welcome to say, nope, we don't like the new recommendation, stick with the old, or yep, that's fine, that looks like that'll cover us. But just wanted to propose that. So all that, staff recommends approval of the proposed modification with the 6 listed conditions. And that concludes staff's report.
Thank you. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions for staff? Hearing none, I know our applicant is present. Do we need to open the public hearing first?
Yeah, I would go ahead and request we open a public hearing. I can swear everybody in.
Yep. All right, so at this time, we do need a motion to open the public hearing for anyone who wishes to speak in favor or against the major amendment.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Alec, we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Gearing.
Aye.
Mr. Westfall.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
And Ms. McMullen.
Aye.
If you plan on speaking today at the public hearing, please stand up, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. So we do have both of you signed in. Who would like to go first?
Well, good evening.
And
Congratulations.
for the record, please state your name, address with the spelling.
UCR Development, 8080 Park Lane, Dallas, Texas.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, congratulations on your win the other night. We in Dallas are happy about our win as well. Hopefully we can keep that train going. So we received the comments just right before the meeting, so it was the first I've had a chance to review it. I think we're in agreement with most of the comments. Obviously, item 1 would be, it sounds like something you guys would have to vote on as it relates to the 4,000 square foot increase. Item 2, as it relates to the building elevations, I think we can work on, I can have our architect work with staff to try and come up with something that's a little bit more attainable, as it relates to other colors in the palette that you're looking for. Obviously, this is a branding exercise as much as anything, just like Home Depot would want their orange and, Lowe's would want their blue. Zip's primary color is that red color, and we do have it just on the entrance feature to the tunnel. I believe it's on the exit feature of the tunnel in this one. So we would like to maintain that as much as we can, but we do have some latitude to work on that, and we're happy to do that. Sidewalks shouldn't be a problem. I guess if you could pull up the site plan, or not the site plan, the aerial. I just kind of want to get a little clarity as to what you're looking for us to do. Right now, the public sidewalks are all on the other side of the street, and then they come back onto our side to the east. I mean, obviously, we could put a section of sidewalk there on our side, but it's going to connect basically to nothing. So, if the public sidewalk is on the other side of the street and you guys would like us to add some sort of a crosswalk, painted crosswalk feature across there, we're happy to do that, I think, which is what item number 4 is requesting. But I'm just kind of wondering what the benefit to having the sidewalk on this side of the street would be. So, we'll work with staff on that. If it's something that's a must-have, we'll do it. But just from a practical standpoint, I would say it's probably not very practical on this side of the street.
There's a better aerial for you, sir.
Yeah.
And for you, Commission. Oh,
Oh.
never mind.
Don't go away.
Did it leave me? Okay, no, cool. All right. Thank you, sorry.
So on the north side of the street there, obviously is the public sidewalk, and it carries on, looks like to the roundabout, and then carries on further east until it crosses back over south, east of our property. Keep going east. right there, it seems that it all transfers over to this side of the street, to the south side of the street. So it seems logical that if we wanted to make a connection from the Zips to that side of the street, crossing over to the public sidewalk, we could do that. But I'm open for discussions on it. Design standards as it relates to the variance, item number 5. I guess we were not aware that it was a 9 by 19 foot stall. I would thought you were actually asking us to go to 8 or to 17 foot. We've got room. We can increase that to 9 by 19. That's not a problem.
I don't think that 1 foot is anything that,
Okay. Either way, it doesn't matter to us.
Perfect.
I mean, it's 3 parking spaces along the eastern boundary for employees, so we're happy to do it. Item 6, the first I'm hearing of this. I don't know what control we have. Obviously, we're just asking to be able to do a car wash in a parking lot to help enhance the development as a whole. I don't know that we have any influence one way or the other to facilitate that. So I don't know what's being asked of us here. If we're looking to trade zoning for access, I don't know how, or if that's a legal thing that would need to be addressed. I don't know, but I don't know what we could do to affect that one way or the other. So that's all I've got. Hopefully that answers your questions.
thank you, sir.
Thank you. And did you want to speak still?
Well, no, he went over the site plan. That was site plan.
Okay, and then just a last chance for anyone present, if there is anyone that would like to speak. Okay, seeing none, we do need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Alec?
Mr. Gearing?
Yes.
Mr. Westphal?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. Okay, commissioners, do any of you have any questions for the applicant or any additional questions for staff?
I have what I think is a stupid question. And looking at the drawings, you have the entryway and you have members only, which means you're going to have a membership, apparently, for this, and then credit cards. If someone shows up with cash, does that mean they can't get their car washed?
This will be a cashless facility, that's correct.
Okay.
It will be credit only or membership only.
And-
They did, and it's a system-wide thing that Zips has, that it, their systems won't accept cash, their new
Okay.
systems won't accept.
And that's, my dollar bill in my pocket, because that's about all I can carry anymore. It says, good for all goods and services, so that's legal.
Understood. They just don't have the systems in place. Their systems are set up to be cashless.
Huh, interesting.
I would just
Oh, go ahead.
echo, if I could ask staff just a couple of the questions that the applicant raised. On the sidewalk issue, what does staff envision what is the utility of the sidewalk there?
The utility on that portion at the moment is not there at all. Really, the point is to bring up, to do this, to start the discussion. In our zoning resolution, it states that in lieu of a sidewalk, you can contribute to the sidewalk fund. So, just that either one or the other happen, right? Like, if the zoning commission, if the trustees see no value in having a sidewalk in that portion, which it doesn't make sense, right? The sidewalk to nowhere, then it's through the process listed in the zoning resolution, the applicant can elect to contribute to the fund, and then the township can put that sidewalk in at another place in the township where same thing, right, where we are missing that connection, but where it might be a little more logical. So in the scenario here, listed out to say, the requirement stands regardless, and then if the zoning committee, as I try and put there, I guess I have a hard time in my mind sometimes saying to the applicant, you have to contribute to the fund, versus you have they have the option to do either. So really, personally, it'd make more sense to contribute to the fund, but that's just where I get, a little the heebie-jeebies about telling someone you have to put it in the fund and that kind of stuff. But it would make more sense, in my opinion, in this scenario, that it do go to the fund. But
Can you pull up the sidewalk issue again, please?
do you need to zoom out more than this or not?
No.
Okay.
And then can you go that direction, like up?
Okay, 1 second here. Cut in here.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, because there will never be an opportunity to fill in a sidewalk or to build a sidewalk on that next section, so.
Well, and that's why, to sort of listen to zoning, here there's a recommendation to start the conversation of, if the commission feels, if the trustees feel, that sidewalk portion of this particular development, or I agree, right, it really doesn't make sense, and even, it's probably not the highest necessity of the residents anyway. There's probably, I know there's, on Springdale Road, for instance, X amount, let's just say it's 130 feet of sidewalk would be better utilized in other areas. But the zoning resolution, it calls for it, so you can say strike it off or give a variance to it, or they can contribute to the fund, either or.
So that recommendation, if we decided we'd prefer a contribution to the fund, would that be something to incorporate into these recommendations here?
Just if the applicant agrees here, then just strike, yes, absolutely. Yep, you just strike it or modify it to say, motion 2 with the exception of modifying 3 in lieu of sidewalks being required, that appropriate contribution to the fund be required.
And then number 5, if and the applicant stated that they're willing to do the 19-foot parking length, then we can scratch number 5 as well.
If they want to do 19, absolutely, yeah, if they want to do 19 feet, then they would meet the zoning resolution and no variance would be required. If they didn't want to, and they want to stick with the 18 because of some design element, then they'd have that option too. They could get a variance to do 18 feet and still put a 19-foot parking spot if they want to. They just can't do less than what's required without a variance, of course. Legally. There we go. Try and go with that. So, yep, if you want to, you can strike it, you can modify it. You're welcome to do whatever you see fit.
Could I ask the applicant, what is your thought on the contribution to the sidewalk fund? Is that something you'd be open to?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something we'd be willing to look into. It just boils down, I guess, to cost.
Currently, it's $75 per lineal foot is the current cost now, is what that's the zoning resolution. That's what the trustees have
It
allocated.
would just boil down to, if we don't mind contributing, we don't mind installing the sidewalk. We just kind of thought it was a not necessary sidewalk in that location. And so, if it's more expensive to install the sidewalk, then yeah, which the way concrete is right now probably is.
It probably is, yep.
But yeah, we're willing to look at either option.
Thank you.
And then before you sit, hello, we're not talking about Tom Brady getting sacked a lot. The color scheme.
Yes.
That red is very red, and it is really going to contrast poorly with Meyer, with their red.
Yeah, they've approved it. Meyer has.
Meyer has approved your color scheme?
Because it ties into their red on their sign as well, but.
Okay.
Obviously, it's a.
It looks like such a orangey red
corporate
on your.
branding. Obviously, Zips would like to keep their corporate branding. That's the newer design that they're going out with. They're starting to remodel other units and bringing this design into it. I will say it's actually been toned down quite a bit with the white on the left-hand side of that middle drawing. And originally, the design had two tower elements, one on either end, that were both red. So this is actually kind of toned down for what they were doing and what they have been doing on some of their other new stuff. But yeah, this is, you know, I'm happy to have the architect talk with staff and try and come up with something that is amenable to both parties. But that is the color scheme they would like to go with, if at all possible.
And then, how do you do your trash can situation for your customers? I know it's a little preliminary, but is that something that's generally something that you can plan in advance, meaning?
Yeah, there are trash cans that are usually on at least every other pole, is what I've seen in the past. And then there is a trash enclosure at the far end of that building that is, you know, obviously more for the employees' use. But yeah, they have trash cans that are typically spaced out across the property for.
Right, and you know the reason I'm asking is because in November I brought up the amount of litter at the other location.
We drove that immediately after the meeting, just had never heard that before. Did not see any trash on the Zip side. It seemed like there was a lot of trash on the adjacent property below us. And we drove it again today and did not see any trash on the Zip side of things. So I don't know, you know, the Zips sits up on that hill and there's a chain link fence there. I don't know if that's kind of something that just as trash in general blows, is captured there, or if it's being caused by the adjacent tenant to the, I don't know what direction that is, south, I guess it would be.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'm glad you had 2 good days with no trash. That's not generally what our community sees on that location. So I would love, and I don't know, Mr. Alec, if it's possible as well, a condition for trash cans on each of their poles, just so we can clearly say that if trash is on that property, their customers had every opportunity to dispose of it properly.
There's the current one, and it is on every pole.
It is on every.
And on, just to go on with what you were saying, staff's opinion that seeing open top trash cans like what we were seeing in this image, you could have, you know, the condition be on each pole or in between each stall, trash enclosures with appropriate measures to, you know, a lid, basically, right? A lid with the, you know, little spring-loaded flapper. Whereas it would not be uncommon probably for trash to find its way outside of these trash cans that are placed there. So the commission, if you like, you could add that. You can scratch all mine, put in all yours, you can add to, that's
Well, that
your-
does bring up a great point. If we're going with a new design and new color scheme, a new design to your trash cans that captures, and if the wind blows, it's
I mean,
not flying somewhere.
I can't
Vacuum's
speak
empty,
to
isn't
how
it?
they procure these and what the reasonings that they might use this over that. I don't know, but I'm sure it's something we could look at.
Every effort to look at. Do I need to make sure that is a condition before it comes back as the final? Or is it acceptable just being in our discussion?
I would just, for clarity's sake, I would make it added to it, just as a condition that on the FDP, it shall be, you know, shown, and then obviously must be constructed as a trash enclosure at each stall or at each parking space, whatever you want to call it, right, each vacuum space, of a design that is appropriate or acceptable to the zoning commission, i.e. one that has a lid on it. Something like that. I'm wordier than most, I'm sorry. Need to be more concise.
Okay. Commissioners, Any other questions?
I had a couple other questions for staff. I wonder, on point number 6, to the applicant's question about what role does the applicant play in that, in the complying with the land use element in the comprehensive plan, what was staff's vision there?
Yep, so this is a topic we've broached quite a few times in the recent cases here. And this is where, again, we're part of the change in language is we have imagine a comprehensive plan that says one thing, and we have a zoning resolution that has not caught up to that yet. And staff's vision for that is where it was indicated, that Meyer specifically was the one holding up the cross-access easement or preventing or prohibiting the cross-access easement to take place between Stone Creek Phase 2 and the Kroger development. And now Meyer is the property owner, tied somehow with the applicant through, financially or whatever. And they're, as the property owner, they are the ones, essentially asking for this modification to their PDP. No problem. And if the commission trustees think it's a good decision to do it for the township and the residents, great, then meet this part of the comprehensive plan as well, where it says we recognize there's a drastic need to reduce traffic as much as possible, at every opportunity possible, of Colerain Avenue. If the current property owner, Meyer Partners or Meyer Properties Limited, is the one, in fact, holding that up and not allowing that cross-access easement to go through, or saying that they're not going to allow it if it does get presented. One, the fun thing about being zoning side is we don't really care about the private party agreements, but also, like, that's generally, unfortunately, sometimes where zoning does get the most compliance is, okay, you want this done, then you have to do what the citizens said they want done in the township. It's not a problem if you don't want to, then just withdraw your application or do something different, it's okay. But if you do want this, and you're not doing what the comprehensive plan is laid out, should be done to improve the township, reduce traffic off Colerain Avenue in this instance, and okay, then do that and show good faith effort that you're going to do that. It's it's part of on staff, on the administration. We really have not laid out a very concise, clear-cut standard of here's exactly what it's going to be, this dimension, this cost, here's how it's going to go. And that was the reasoning for me changing the language in here to say shall comply versus agree in writing to work with us to develop. What does this really look like being fleshed out in the future, right? If Colerain Township is a place where nobody comes to do development because of this one aspect, well, that's not helping the township. But if there's a way for us to structure it to where it does benefit everyone, well, then that's our job, and that's what we're supposed to do, and that is helping the township. So, very concise answer to your question is the vision is there are some unknowns still at the moment. The one thing that is clear and is known is exactly what's listed in the comprehensive plan.
Mm-hmm.
At least agree to that. If nothing else, you're agreeing to that, which I mean, you by law, you have to, or you get a variance from that. So,
Excellent, thank you.
did I cover everything? Did I miss something? Matt, you have anything?
I don't know that they necessarily understand.
Yeah.
With the cross access, you want to explain what that is to them,
Okay.
to the applicants.
Thank you. So, per Mr. Solon, our legal staff here, just to sort of break down the comprehensive plan, indicated that because if you are from here or from the area, you know that Colerain Avenue is quite busy. In order to alleviate that and allow for better connection between the planned developments, in this specific case, Kroger to the south, which I understand why Meyer might be apprehensive about that, but at the same time, as mentioned before, Stone Creek was developed in 2 phases, and the phase over here that's kind of, it's these 3 parcels now is phase 2. Right in here, there's an access easement that was required by ODOT to be added to the PDP, so it's law as it is. I mean, as much as zoning law is followed and prosecuted. So it is law, it's there. When this particular development came in, I believe in May or June, to receive this modification of their PDP, a lot of discussion happened over this cross-access easement. Again, that was on their initial PDP in 2007. There really wasn't much to say other than it was made clear to staff, and I believe also said to the commission, I'll double check that part, but I'm pretty sure it said during the hearings, that Meyer specifically was the one that had prevented this from going through. And so if that is true or the case, then if Meyer wants the current proposal we're discussing tonight's case, ZA 2023-01, the Zips Car Wash, a condition of receiving the modification of that, the vote of recommendation or whatever, would be to agree in writing to work with the township to alleviate the traffic strain that is on Colerain Avenue through, right now, if a resident or shopper desires to travel in between either development, at the moment, you have to get on Colerain Avenue to get there, and then Springdale, or vice versa, depending on which going from one to the other. This is stated that, was identified back in 2007 that this should be done. Let's make it happen. And we'll work, do our part to work with the applicant, the applicant/property owner in this case. So that, to, broach that, the property we're talking about dividing a just over 1 acre parcel off of, it is owned by Meyer. So that's why they're in the discussion as it stands for that aspect. They would have to be part of that. Did I miss?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
So for the applicant themselves, that really has no effect. It is the property owner, Meyer, that it will affect.
Tonight and tomorrow, it really wouldn't have any effect at all. But if they go to actually execute this, to do a lot split.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I just want to make sure those are on the same property, right?
Yep, same property.
parcels.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're talking about, the proposed plan is indicated, it hasn't really come up until now, I guess, but there would be a just over 1 acre, 1.2 something acre, I believe, lot split. The only way they can get approved is through a lot split application. And same thing that Meyer, they won't have any frontage, all that kind of stuff. We can talk about that later on. Not a problem in a plan development necessarily, in staff's opinion, to not have frontage where you're in a development, it's not required. But they'll have to have some kind of access agreement with the current property owner to allow traffic to come over the, Zip's new property that they own to get through. We're kind of saying same thing, if you want people to be able to get to Meyer and not have to go all the way around here, and come up this way, or, the backside over here or something like that, then yeah, it's a pretty, in staff's opinion, sort of negligible ask, just to allow us to begin the process of creating that. I'm not sure if that answered that part. Okay.
Absolutely.
So while the applicant tonight, in a sense, obviously they can't speak on Meyer's behalf. If it were to go through or go any point further, we'd have to have that. It's a condition of any other favorable actions. So if an FDP were to come and we didn't have that done, sorry, but no, if that were, a condition is approved. So then, this came up also with Weiler as far as the regulatory takings and exactions and all that fun Supreme Court case stuff we've been through. Anything that's generally, and I know I'll get corrected, if it's for public use, it's pretty clear cut how that generally goes through law. So, something up-ish? No. I mean, I guess always a judge can always go. Generally, it's always been fairly. If it's truly for the public interest and not going towards, we're taking it for the public good, but this developer over here is going to do it for us. That's usually not a problem. But if it's, this is for the public good and actually is that, typically, it is usually, sometimes, pretty clear cut. As clear as muddy water can be when it comes to the legal system. And
Never guarantee anything.
thank the good Lord for attorneys that we have that. But yeah, never guarantee anything. But again, hopefully we wouldn't get to that point because we're all working together to make this happen as it's been identified as a need in the comprehensive plan. And it's like, if you don't want to agree with what the citizens have said, then no, that's fine. Maybe it shouldn't be here then. So anyway.
I believe the applicant had a response. I just wanted to invite them to.
This is the first we're hearing about this, is tonight. We were here a month ago, and this has never been brought up or brought to our attention until this point. I'm still not grasping how us subdividing this little piece of land out of Meyer. I realize it's Meyer, and I realize you're saying Meyer, and I can't speak for why Meyer would or would not want to have cross-access with a competitor. I don't know. I'm not in their operations. But it seems like a stretch to me that we're being held hostage because of something that needs to happen or should have happened a long time ago and has never happened for whatever reason. I'm not grasping how that's tying that to us. I mean, I realize this is Meyer, then Meyer's selling a piece of property, but it's a bit onerous that this would fall on us.
You know, I think it gets down to perspective, okay? From a Colerain Township standpoint, when the initial denial was made to make that little cut through, okay, to alleviate the traffic on Colerain Avenue to benefit the township, I think that I hear from it all the time from my wife. Why can't we get from North Gate up to Stone Creek easily, okay? And there's this. It's like the Northwest Passage. It's always been thought of, but never truly attained, okay? And it makes no sense to her. So back when that happened, I think the Colerain Township was held hostage, okay, through no fault of its own. So what happens is as business works, the chickens come to roost, and yeah, it's no fault of your own, but the fact of the matter is there's no reason that passway shouldn't be there. It's to benefit everybody in the community in Colerain Township. So Meyer had to have it in the back of their hat that, listen, if you're going to put a stop to something, that's going to come back to bite them as soon as it can. And so now it's time for the chickens to roost. Did I say that appropriately?
As much as I love chickens, you absolutely nailed it. And then just to give clarity, because clarity is the only way to, truly have a good discussion, and it's just like this. Section 9.3.4 of the Colerain Township zoning resolution state this is dealing with PDs, so PD, R, B, I, or M, in this case PDB. A states all plan developments approved after the effective date of this resolution shall comply with the Colerain Township Comprehensive Plan and Colerain Township Land Use Plan, including compliance with the permitted uses, densities, intensities, and other recommendations of the plans. Part B, any variation from the Comprehensive Plan and Land Use Plan shall require an amendment to the applicable plans through review and approval by the Zoning Commission and trustees. So they do not have to agree to it. We do not have to add this as a condition, but any proposal per our zoning resolution that comes before us that does not adhere to the recommendations of, in this case, the comprehensive plan, in this case, cross-access easement, fine. The applicant then has to apply to amend those plans before the Zoning Commission and trustees. So it's not even a no. You don't, they'd have to, they could apply to amend Colerain Township's comprehensive plan to exclude their proposal from these requirements if they felt they wanted to go that course instead.
So something of that nature would delay tonight, correct?
It would definitely delay, tonight, possibly not, but in order to get the approval for it, the actual lot split, the actual FDP in the future, per the zoning resolution, the applicable plan would have to have been amended. Mm-hmm. So it would not really stop tonight. The commissioners could say, this we feel would be a better course of, the staff's recommendation would be a better course of action. The applicant could say that too. The applicant could say, you know what, staff's recommendation sounds better than coming back in front of the zoning commission, the trustees, the Colerain residents, Colerain Township residents, saying, hey, we want to amend your zoning resolution because we don't want to give you cross-access easement off Colerain Avenue. I could see that being an interesting hearing, but if they want to do that, it's their right to do so. So either one is
It's standard business.
business.
I mean, you see it all the time.
It's not standard to have a comprehensive plan in place without a zoning resolution that's kind of caught up to it. I would
But
say.
it is standard business to sit down and say, listen, if you.
Yeah, well, then also the Hamilton County Thoroughfare Plan
Yeah.
also mentions that cross-access easements
Yeah.
should always be done. And so, I mean, it is, that aspect standard, I apologize, sir, that part is very standard, yes.
So if that code requires it, then why do you need Meyer to approve it?
You don't have to, but if Meyer wants the approval, then they have to come back and they have to amend it.
Well,
Or you would, or an applicant, sorry.
I mean, if you're saying that everybody in this development has approved it except for Meyer.
I was told that. I cannot state that as fact, but that's what I was
So
told.
that's an assumption that's being made, is that everybody in that development wants that cross-access to happen. It sounds like you just said that there is an ordinance or an ODOT requirement to have it.
Mm-hmm.
So why not put it in? Why have you not done that up to this point? I
Sure, no,
apologize.
that's
I'm
great.
not,
That's-
I'm not meaning to be confrontational here, but again, this just came up to us tonight, so we're trying
Sure,
to understand what exactly is happening.
And I know in the past, in other properties, this has popped up recently, and where there haven't been agreements, obviously, and who knows, even with the agreement to do that, I don't know that any action could be taken necessarily. It's just having the opportunity. Like I know there was a prior parcel, they had a springing easement, if that makes sense, which evaporated. So at some point, if within the next 15 years, they were able to, and it's a little different scenario in this, but, get the other property owners to agree to, it was an easement that if it wasn't used, it would go away, so to speak. And if they were able to get other property owners to connect that easement through, then obviously there would be an agreement between all the property owners, but you can't get all of them until you get one at a time, if that makes sense. And I don't know the particulars with respect to this. The ODOT obviously is a different development in that regard, but who's to say if it, is there any intention of the township or whoever to do that? I don't know. It's just that, from my understanding, it's just they would agree to comply with the spirit of the resolution, or I'm sorry, the comprehensive plan, if that's.
I mean, look, we're happy to go back to Meyer and say, hey, this is the situation. What do you think? But I can't make Meyer
Yep. I completely understand that part.
agree to this. I mean,
We
they've got
can't
their
either,
own
in a
reasons.
sense.
You can't either. Nobody can. So I just kind of feel like we're being.
Well, that's like the purpose of this is kind of exactly what stated. Like, this is an agreement to work in good faith. The alternative is you go through the aspect of it where you start, writing letters where it mentions this and this and this, and then here's this time period to get it done, and then the time period expires, and you kind of go, it's a whole different route. It's either the enforcement aspect or there's the moment we're in now, whereas the conditional aspect.
Well, and this is also, these are recommendations that are being made by the zoning commission. Ultimately, the trustees it's going to have to be presented to the trustees, and there'll be input on that, so.
But the aspect of that, though, the kind of catch-all of that is, if the plan does not, per section 9.34, A and B, if it doesn't meet that, then Meyer or the applicants, somebody relative to this development has to come back and propose an amendment to the comprehensive plan to amend that section that says, so you don't have to. This, in staff's opinion, is a much easier way to achieve the outcome, because coming back and again, presenting an amendment to the comprehensive plan to not honor this as it is, which even it gets so tricky because it's already on the PDP of the 2007 Stone Creek Phase 2. Another aspect kind of just came to light when Mr. Mr. Nedkoff and I met prior to the hearing tonight. I saw that there's probably another aspect we have to pursue. Scott, you're going to love this, with a development to the south, to keep that as obscure as possible. I'm very hopeful at this moment now, versus this morning when I woke up, that we have tools that we could use to actually achieve this in this case, whereas others we may not. Not keep that so cryptic. I believe we can make this cross-access easement happen based on the current zoning resolution. It'd be great to have Meyer on board with it. If they don't want to be on with it, that's fine. They can propose an amendment to the comprehensive plan as is listed in our current zoning resolution.
So for number 6, we have your staff recommendation, the edited version of it. So, Mr. Solzman, perhaps this question is better for you. Is the language that's being used now, the property owner agrees in writing to work with Colerain Township to achieve, is that appropriate for our discussion now?
I think, in general, Mr. Allery talked about the fact that there needs to be compliance with the comprehensive plan in general. Again, it's just agreeing in writing to work with Colerain Township. It's pretty general. I don't know if it necessarily.
Any changes to it?
It looks fine to me.
Okay. And knowing that this is the preliminary plan that we are discussing and not a final development plan as well, so there's always that opportunity to
Yep, yep.
wordsmith and tweak from,
Yep, and that's what the big reason for the language change would to be, you know, it's in the zoning resolution, it's in the comprehensive plan. I mean, you obviously shall do it, but it's hoping to open up, more of a dialogue with these property owners, trying to be, what is it, the carrot versus the stick, in a sense of, let's work together to make this happen, versus let's oppose each other the whole way through, and that's not fun for anyone.
So,
So,
are you asking us then? I mean, you're asking us to work with you. Okay, we work with you. Personally, I don't have a problem if there's a cross-access there. Doesn't affect what I'm here presenting tonight. But what if Best Buy doesn't want it? I mean,
Yep.
it seems like a bigger ask than what we're here to doing tonight. And I'm again, as I said earlier, I'm happy to go talk to Meyer. I mean, I've limited access to him, but I'm happy to say, hey, this is what was said. In fact, I have to tell them this is what was said. And they may say, we don't want to do that.
That's
There
fine.
is an operational reason that we can't agree to that. So what does that mean to us?
and then there have to be an amendment to the comprehensive plan. So, and so per section 9.3.4 on the screen before, then an applicant, either you as well, or Meyer, or anyone on their behalf, would come in and present a modification or amendment to the comprehensive plan, imagine Colerain. It would come before the zoning commission, and then go before the board of trustees.
Yep. Okay, and so tonight, where does this leave us?
It's it's the commissioner's choice to say, leave it in there, strike it down, modify it. It's your choice to, if you don't like the conditions placed on it, to not do anything. If something like this, really isn't in there, then by law and by my job title, then the amendment to the comprehensive plan would have to take place prior to any other action moving forward. So it's really, it's your choice to choose your own adventure. If you ever read those books, right? You can kind of, if you like this better than the thought of either you or Meyer coming back to amend Colerain Township's comprehensive plan, then this might be a better option. But it's like, it's already there in writing.
so I think we need to think about this as this is Stone Creek major modification, and it could be Zips, it could be McDonald's, it could be Sonic, it could be anybody applying to put something on that parcel, but it's ultimately Stone Creek that is responsible for adhering to the spirit of the comprehensive plan. Is that correct?
It's any applicant who comes before the zoning commission. And if you look at the screen,
Well, and I think what should go tonight is if you think it needs to be included, it's your recommendation. Obviously, they can't speak on behalf of Meyer. They could probably communicate that. And when it comes before the Board of Trustees, if at that point you've had a chance to communicate with Meyer, you can express to the trustees, what your conversation was with Meyer, or if you would propose, a tweak to that language or something along those lines is probably, in my mind, the best way to move forward tonight.
so and to kind of tap off that real quick, I'll be as concise as possible. There's either something too similar to the condition proposed tonight, the applicant agrees to work with, right? I understand it's kind of wide open. Or they could, at this moment, they could request a variance to these sections, A and B, if they wanted to. And if the commission felt that was appropriate, you could either grant that or deny that. Or, it'd be tough, but, well, to this section, though. The same way that, like, they're getting a variance to the 19-foot length for the parking stalls, right? The zoning resolution requires 19 feet. 18 feet, 1 foot less, not a big deal. A variance to this, in staff's opinion, there would be a significant variance. But it'd be the commission's, if right to do so. If you want to, you could say, we don't like staff's recommendation here. I won't be offended personally at all. I promise you. I'll drive on. And you're granted a variance to 9.34 A and B. Or You can say, none of this, they have to go this route. So it's really, in my opinion, this is the best course of action for it. And if Meyer says no, they just come back and try to, they propose an amendment anyway.
Could we have a few minutes to talk outside before we do anything further?
Yes.
Okay.
Move for recess.
Just 5
Okay.
minutes.
That or,
I'll make a motion.
Sure, I'll motion for a 5-minute recess.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Guerin?
Yes?
Mr. Westfall? Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. McMillan?
Yes,
All right, 7:23.
we're going to come out of recess, so do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to come out of recess.
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Guerin?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
And Ms. McMullen?
Yes. All right, gentlemen.
Okay. Can you put up the new language? Because I think even the language I have regarding item 6 isn't, it's different.
Where did my projector go? Trying.
Just pop out.
That's okay.
Yeah, let's cycle it real quick, being operative.
Yeah,
We
I
share
think,
that.
There are hard copies right over here, this third
no.
sheet right here.
Oh, wait, do I have it?
Two more, sir. That should be, nope, the other one, I believe.
there it is.
1 through 6, but it came back up, there we go.
There you go.
All right,
We've gone out and discussed this, and I think, thank you. I think based on what's written here, that we will work with Colerain Township to try and achieve this. We can live with that language, and we'll just go from there, see what happens.
Understood.
thank you, sir.
All right, commissioners, any additional questions for staff or the applicant?
I had a question for staff about number 1. By recommending number 1, would that be granting a variance required there? Or what would be required to achieve number 1 here?
Yep, granting a variance, that a major modification under Article 4. If there's a item of the approving resolution by the Board of Trustees, if any proposal is in direct conflict of it, just that a simple variance is granted to it, and then this would be increased to reflect that.
Thank you.
And gentlemen, I just want to confirm for number 5, there was the discussion about the parking length of the stalls.
Yes, we can do that.
It was 18,
We can do the 19.
19.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Whatever, we just were not aware that it was 9 by 19 instead of 9 by, typically
Okay.
it's 9 by 18, so, yeah, we're fine with that.
All right, last call for questions or clarifications. Okay, at this time, is there anyone who would like to make a motion?
I motion that we accept the presentation of ZA 2023-01, Zips Car Wash, with the staff recommendations as stated.
Okay. And just to clarify, will that include number 5? They are willing to meet the 19-foot, so we could remove that, and then anything for number 4 for the public sidewalk?
Yeah, I think we can remove number 5. Number 4, I believe, is a discussion to be held with staff, if I'm not mistaken.
3, 4, and 5 could be stricken. I believe there's discussion before about requiring the containers at each stall. So 3, 4, and 5 can be stricken, and then
Yeah.
with the language added to, have trash containers at each stall that are appropriate to, or approved by the zoning commission at the FDP.
Would 3 be stricken or modified to,
Just be stricken to where, it's still a requirement in the zoning resolution. So as long as a variance isn't be granted to it, they still would have to, adhere to that.
I'll amend my motion to strike 3, 4, and 5 and include the addition of trash cans at each stop location.
So 1, 2, and 6 stand, and then 3, 4, and 5 are stricken, and then the addition of draft a new set of conditions that addresses a trash container to be approved by the zoning commission at the presentation of the FDP. Something like that?
right, not to change your motion, but every effort to contain the trash, so a trash can with a lid, yes. Okay, so,
So do we need a second to that?
yes, I was going to clarify it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then, so on the floor, we have a motion to approve case ZA 2023-1, a major modification for Stone Creek, with staff's recommendation, but striking 3, 4, and 5, and adding a condition for the containment of trash and litter at each stall. Did I get that
That's
right for
correct.
you? Okay, and do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion before us and a second.
Mr. Westfall,
Aye.
Mr. Gehring,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
and Ms. McMullen.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
so the motion carries.
Thanks,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you. So we do not have an informal concept review on the agenda, nor any old business or new business. So that does bring us to item 9 on our agenda, which, Mr. Alec, there was a request from you as the zoning administrator for the zoning commission to initiate text amendments to the zoning resolution for what was listed: fireworks, medical marijuana, microbreweries, and prohibited home occupations, and finally violations. Do you have a presentation for the commission?
I have a very brief, and it will be a very concise discussion / presentation on that, Ms. McMullen.
Okay, please
Thank you so
proceed.
much. The 5 items, a little bit of house cleaning type thing. Others addressing what staff believes are needs of the township that aren't addressed in our zoning resolution. And basically just asking for, if the zoning commissioners see fit, to instruct me to draft some type of proposals for each one of these that require them. And I say that because it's my opinion that the medical marijuana definition, it was already approved. It was just, for some reason, there was an oversight and it was never added to our definition page. It's a prohibited use in all districts within the township, but the definition of it that was approved by the zoning commission and the board of trustees was, for some reason, never included in the zoning resolution. So that one's just kind of a, just giving them a heads up, they got put in there. The fireworks has come up because there was some ambiguity in our current code of whether or not that's actually an approved use. So we're just looking to clarify that. And then microbreweries, they are currently only approved, I believe it's in the B3 districts. And if draft some language that makes them either approved or approved with, administrative conditions, B1, B2 as well. And kind of get more in more detail in February, unless you have specific questions now. By all means, please feel free to ask. And then prohibited home occupations, it's come to the attention multiple times that the township doesn't really have a good way to provide sort of, to alleviate the predicament that quite a few residents find themselves in. And staff would like an opportunity to present draft some language to do a text amendment to possibly give them that. And if the commissioners agree and like it, great. And if you don't, again, it won't be, you're welcome to say no to. And the one that I will take personal note to would be I've done extensive amount of research on violations. And it's staff's opinion, and we'll have this nice gentleman, Mr. Sullivan, with us at the next hearing and those forward and send all this language to beforehand. I believe there's nothing in the ORC that requires a township to state that a violation of our zoning resolution is a minor misdemeanor. In Article 5, under our penalties section in Article 5, it states any violation of the zoning resolution is a minor misdemeanor. And the max that you can do with that in the ORC, it's a max is a $150 ticket. Currently, the municipal court fee schedule is $130, so we're not even maximizing that, which is fine. But I would like our resolution to address, there are some minor violations of the zoning resolution where some people, they just didn't know, and you write them a letter and they fix it very quickly. Others, they're not like that at all. And in its staff's opinion, there should be a distinction in the penalty schedule that clarifies that and gives, in this case, for criminal violation, it would end up at the municipal court. If the judge saw fit, they would say this could be a minor misdemeanor. Or in the ORC, it's listed that where the maximum penalty for a violation is up to $500, that's actually a third-degree misdemeanor. So it could be a minor, it could be a fourth degree, or it could be a third-degree misdemeanor. I believe our zoning resolution should at least give the ability for the judge, if they see fit, to uphold the law as such. So that's what I'd like to present to the commissioners next month. If you like all those, the only caveat to that would be that I believe that the definition for medical marijuana, it has to be included. I believe legally I can just put it in there because it's already been approved. It was just never included, but I'd like to, in the name of transparency, just admit a mistake was made, but we are fixing it. So there we go. As concise as I can get. That's what it was right there. I apologize. Jeez.
Right. So the one that I want to discuss, and I should actually ask my fellow commissioners first if you guys had any questions for staff. Oh, okay, so the one that I want to discuss is the top of the list, fireworks. I believe I saw in our packet, we are clarifying that the sale of fireworks and fountain devices are not permitted, correct?
Well, that's the problem, is it's not clear in the zoning resolution.
But this is
the
an
word
effort
firework-
to
I'm sorry?
make it clear.
This would, yes, to
say
clarify
we do not want the
what,
sale.
what we believe, what the township believes is the appropriate classification and where that activity should take place. And then kind of, all this will be presented as an actual case next month, but also, since we get this opportunity to talk now, which we don't usually get, it would be, to not prevent where, a store may have a small display of them in lieu of everything else they sell. This is more where the only thing they sell is this, or the majority of is this, and is that what the residents want? It's just not clear right now, so I can't tell by reading. The only place where fireworks is mentioned is in outdoor vendor markets, and it's prohibited there. And outdoor vendor markets are only approved with conditions in B1 and B2, but you can't sell fireworks there. So I'm wondering, did the residents and the commissioners and the trustees, did they not want fireworks to be sold in B1 or B2, or just in vendor markets in B1 and B2? And then the only other place where it's mentioned is in it being either explosives or combustibles, inflammable material, is in heavy industrial uses. So I'm not sure the residents want them only in I1 districts. I don't know whether the commission does or the trustees do. It's just one of those, kind of, there's a question mark out there, and this would be a good way to get clarification on what the residents want, what the commissioners want, what the trustees want.
Okay,
They may not want anything to change, I don't know.
so the intent of tonight is for us to make a motion to grant you permission to amend these in the zoning resolution. You will bring them back to us. We duke it out, either approve, deny, edit, all the fun stuff. And then it goes to the trustees.
That's exactly correct. If this is per ORC 519.12, the only way a township zoning resolution can be amended, a text amendment, is have the Board of Trustees make a resolution, the zoning commission can make a motion, or an application can come in. I'm asking the commission, if they see fit for these, to please make a motion to instruct me to draft something, and then, as you so eloquently said, we can duke it out next month.
All right.
I look forward to duking it out. I don't know if with all you at the same time, but I guess, hey, I can barely get a projector to work, so we'll see. Bad connector.
All
Thank you for
right.
your patience with me tonight with all this. I do apologize. Yes.
Any comments from anyone else? If not, can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend what Jared said.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Gehring?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Aye.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion is approved.
Based on that motion, we do have a meeting next month.
We do have a meeting next month?
Based on that
21st.
motion, because
Oh,
next month
oh,
I'll
oh.
present all these to you.
Are we meeting just for that?
At the moment, yeah. Yep.
Give it a month.
Maybe not,
Plenty.
because give me time to focus. Is that okay or not okay? Well, if you could have the, well, we can't do that tomorrow. The hearing by ORCS within 40, can't be more than 40, can't be less than 20 of the motion. So if you want, we can table this, and then at another meeting, make a motion.
I think we'll live if we have a
Okay.
short agenda.
Perfect. Is that cut a knitting special day?
That'd be a nice change.
21st?
Hey, I'd want to come and just
Yes.
watch this duking out.
Right.
There you go. Thank you for your
All
patience.
right, so carrying on, no announcements, correct? Okay. All right, so then our next meeting is scheduled for February 21st, 2023. Hopefully by then, we should be Super Bowl champions too, so that's something to celebrate.
If we are, can we be authorized to wear attire as such, or even required? As the chair, you can do that. Thank you.
Yes, I think we're required. All right, so commissioners, staff, applicants, all in attendance, thank you for being here tonight and being patient as we work through some issues. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
We want to stay longer?
Meeting adjourned.
Should have
Thank
voted
you.